Welcome to the National Training Center here. We are the first training facility that is designed specifically for disaster search canines throughout our 125 acres of what we consider doggy Disneyland. This interview and time here with us today is extra special because we're joined by some special guests that truly embody the transformation from rescue to rescuer, from shelter dog to search dog. So please join me in welcoming Mike, Bruce, and Cooper of Orange County Fire Authority and California Task Force 5. Welcome, you guys. How are you?
We are excellent.
Welcome. It's beautiful out today. You picked a good day, and I know that Cooper is less than interested in actually talking about it. He wants to get to the rubble search, but I'd love to talk to you guys just a little bit about your journey together thus far and kind of what's in the future for you guys. So Cooper didn't have an easy start in life. You know, he was rescued by the Golden Gate Labrador Retriever Rescue up in the Bay Area after being brought to them by the shelter. And I believe he was confiscated from a neglectful situation. And thankfully, though, he found his loving foster home with Joanne and Chuck, which I understand you guys actually keep in touch with them and talk to them, which is wonderful. So he has this great support network. And here at the training center, we loved watching him grow in his confidence as a search dog and just as a dog in general. And then you were handed the leash in October of 2018 at graduation day. And what was that like? What do you remember from that moment when they handed the leash to you and said, here is your future partner for the next decade?
For me, it was a little bit of panic initially, not knowing exactly what to expect and getting ready for certification. Just building that relationship and growing it to what it is now. And it was a lot of fun, a lot of stress, but I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Yeah. Do you remember the first moment you met him, even before you knew you would be partnered?
I think actually the first moment that I met him, the first day, I noticed that he was pretty rambunctious, super high drive. And the first handler that he was paired with on the first day, he was giving that handler a really, really hard time throughout the course. I remember thinking like, wow, that's a lot of dog.
He was just testing him, and I'm sure he tested you too, but what are some of your favorite qualities about Cooper that you've maybe learned to love over the years?
I would say mostly it's personality. He is super funny. If you give him a toy, you can see he's going to do a million different things with it. He likes to have fun. If I'm not providing the fun, he'll have his own fun.
I'm watching him looking for his fun as we're talking, and it's not really fair, you know, to be talking here at the rubble pile because, of course, that's all he wants to do. That's what he lives for. So how did you guys go from being partnered initially and then getting ready for certification sort of as your first step toward being deployment ready? What was that like in that time period as you got ready to certify? The
biggest thing in getting ready for certification was a lot of relationship building, especially with his history. He really made me earn that relationship, and it was grown over a good amount of time, even 6 months, till he was really bought off. Tons and tons of training every single day, and just growing his confidence in me and his handler. And also just showing him that I could provide him with the most fun out of anybody on this planet.
And I'm sure you do. And actually just today we've seen that trust and that confidence that he has in you. Does he go everywhere with you? Lives at the station, at home, all of that? How does that go? What's your daily life like, and training and just regular life?
So yeah, he does. Everywhere I go, at the station, at home, on vacation typically. He's with me 24/7. Daily life at the station, we pretty much first thing, as soon as I'm ready to respond and all my gear's loaded up, we get a workout in, and then throughout the day we're doing training, whether it's obedience. We have different obstacles set up, so we'll climb on all the obstacles, have fun doing that. And then every once in a while, if we have time at the station, we'll get a couple of searches in. At home, it's pretty much the same. First thing in the morning, try to get a workout in, and then we're strapping on a baby Bjorn, going out and doing obedience in the yard or out in public, going to the park, doing direction control, playing fetch. So we're constantly training because for Cooper, a tired Cooper is a happy Cooper.
And we wouldn't have it any other way. So he went from, you know, being neglected essentially to finding a loving home with his foster parents, and then coming to a full-fledged family with you at home. And now, as you guys are certified, you're ready for deployment. So at a moment's notice, you could be going out the door. How do you kind of prepare for that and make sure that you're ready to go whenever that may come about, when that call comes in?
So the biggest thing, you know, the certification test is super important. It's a big accomplishment, but as soon as we are finished with the certification, then we're preparing for the real world. And it's going to be a continuous evolution of his training from now until the day that he retires. We want to go longer searches, more difficult rubble as that goes on. More distractions. We're just continuously building on that level, even getting him on helicopters and things of that nature, so that we can be sure that wherever we respond, he's going to be ready, and he's not going to skip a beat.
Yeah, and here at the National Training Center, we have, as I mentioned, 125 acres of disaster, if you will. You know, we've set it up specifically for dogs like him. How has coming out here kind of helped with your preparation for that, with the various scenarios that we have on campus?
Being here, that he 100% is so locked into work, obviously from his time in training, and all the different varieties of rubble and the train cars, the freeway prop, the buildings. The ability to go from one thing to another all on one campus is so helpful, so that we can, you know, at the level that he's at now, we're going through areas where he's finding nothing, from area to area to area, where we can put one victim over a huge range and be successful, because we're continuing. That's what he's going to encounter in the real life. Mostly is not a lot of live victims. He's going to be continuously searching and maybe find one, but probably covering huge ranges and not getting rewarded. So for us, it's the most valuable thing we can do is just continuously train for long hours and continue to push the envelope for him in his training. Yeah.
Well, and like you said, a tired Cooper is a happy Cooper, and so those challenges, you know, that's your job, part of the job, right? Is he gets to do the fun searching part, but you get to come up with those challenges and see, you know, how we can continue to push and progress in his training and yours. So we're so happy to have you all out here and actually training. I know he's been hearing up the hill, we have our candidates in training up at the larger rubble pile, but why don't we let him run a little bit and see if he can have some fun now that he's been sitting nicely and while we've been talking, waiting for us. So let's get him on some rubble and have some fun, Cooper. What do you think, bud? Yep, we're ready. As he ignores me. Thanks, dude. All right, so the most important part of a rubble search is actually what we call the victim or the decoy, which is the person that Cooper is about to go find. So we have Dane here to help us, and he has the all-important toy in his pocket, which we got from Mike ahead of time. And so he's going to take that with him and go jump in the tube that's already on the rubble pile so that Cooper can search the whole pile and find him. So Dane is actually going to go crawl into that concrete tube right now, and he is going to be our victim for this search for Cooper. And he has the most important job of anybody, because without his scent, Cooper doesn't have anybody to search for. So as he crawls into his concrete tube there, he has Cooper's toy and is ready to go. And he's going to close up that lid, which you'll see has a little mouse hole at the bottom, as we call it. And what it does is it allows his scent to escape in that one single space. And that way Cooper has a very specific area that he'll alert in, telling Mike that that's where the victim is. And in theory is in closest proximity to the victim for rescuers to be able to extricate him from the rubble.
Search.
And so Mike has released Cooper onto the rubble pile, and you'll notice that Mike's going to stay off to the side and let Cooper independently search the pile, using the wind to his advantage, checking over every piece of rubble that he needs to be sure that he covers the whole space. And he won't be bothered by anybody else that's standing up there. In fact, he just checked to make sure that person's okay, I can see them. He's looking for the scent that he cannot see. So he's looking for that one missing person that he knows he can smell but cannot see it. And you see him start to come back this way. The wind has changed just a little bit, and it's not necessarily working in his favor right now, so he's going to have to work a little bit harder and a little bit longer to pick it up. You see that tail going though, and I have to say these dogs love every single moment of searching. They love the search, they love working, they love climbing over things and using that nose, which is going to get him where he needs to go to find Dane in this concrete tube. He moves so beautifully over the rubble, and there's a lot of hours and weeks and months that go into the physical training and conditioning for these search dogs because they truly are athletes, and it takes a long time for them to get in shape to be able to do this, and it only helps them to be safer and more agile on that rubble. So as he works back and forth, you can see that he's using that nose. He's not really using his eyes to try and find the victim. So he's going to keep methodically going back and forth until he picks up the scent. And right now the wind is actually blowing the scent away from him. We have a few markers out on the pile that allow us to see which direction the wind is blowing. And so he's having to work a little bit harder than if the wind were blowing the scent directly to him. He'd pick it up a lot faster, but the external influences are not allowing him to do that. So he's having to run a little bit longer, which means you get to see that much more of a search.
Cooper! Cooper, this way!
So you can hear Mike kind of calling him back. He was searching along the perimeter. It's Mike's job to be the dog's advocate and be sure that he stays
Cooper!
on task in their search area. When they're actually on deployment, they'll have a specifically assigned area that they need to cover. And so Mike's going to be sure that Cooper covers it all and stays within their space and covers what they need to cover. It's a lot of ground, it's a lot of rubble, and as you can imagine, for one of us as a human being, not only climbing over that rubble, but then overturning each and every piece would take days or even weeks or months to check to be sure that no one is left behind. He's about to finish this in a matter of minutes by using his nose and finding that scent. Now Dane is staying very quiet in there as the victim. We don't want to call out to the dog, and that's part of their early days of training. He's going to stay silent because in a real life deployment scenario, a victim could be unconscious or unable to call out or too deep to be able to hear. And so we want to train these dogs for anything they may encounter on an actual deployment at a disaster site. Now Cooper's coming along on this side of the rubble, so he should be picking up the scent. It looks like he's got it right there. And there it is. Did you see that hook? Good boy. So you may have seen him hook back into that scent and immediately start alerting because he found that strongest scent source right there at that mouthful,
nice job, buddy. Nice
and it's
job,
so important because now Mike is going to come up behind him, and he's going to continue barking and tugging with that victim until Mike is there to lead him up and be able to mark where that victim was hidden. And that's so important because on an actual deployment, the victim and the dog need to stay in close proximity so that the handler can mark it and flag it so that rescuers can come in and do their work to actually extricate a victim from the rubble. Now for Cooper, that is the best reward he could possibly imagine. He gets to tug on that toy, do a little bit of a victory lap, and really enjoy the hard work he just put in. That was quite a long search for him because the wind wasn't working in his favor, but it is all worth it when he gets to tug on that toy with the victim and then also with Mike, who of course is his favorite person in the world.
You did. What a good boy. What a good boy. Oh, pull him out of there. What a good boy. What a good boy. Yeah, pull it. Nice boy. What a good boy. Next big pull.
Good boy, Cooper.
Oh, what a good boy. Coopy.
Well, Mike, thank you and Cooper so much for being here today and giving us a little bit of a glimpse into Canine Disaster Search and what you all do. It was a pleasure having you all here.
Thank you so much for having us. It was awesome.
Absolutely. Anytime. And hopefully we'll get to see more of you sort of as things open up a little bit more and we can have some more fun out here. We'd love to see you guys again. And we have to say thank you to all of you who joined us and support the dogs just like Cooper that transform from rescue to rescuer. We truly could not do it without you. So thank you all for being part of the search.